Coming up next, two-time award winner Below the Line with George Peroulas.
Previously on Below the Line, part one of my interview with Hollywood director Worth Keeter. So how long were you and Shelby working at the studio?
I was there for 12 years from 1975, and I left in 1987. And I started as a grip electric there, and was within a couple of years the vice president in charge of production and directed 10 movies there.
You guys got national exposure with 60 Minutes. How did that happen?
In 1981, I think we made a movie called Rottweiler in 3D, and it was the first 3D movie after the big explosion of 3D movies in the 50s.
Power Rangers is one of the biggest TV shows worldwide. How did that come about?
It was the second most watched television program on the planet Earth. That's the one thing that I learned about this was in exchange for being brilliant, if you're not brilliant, you're very lucky if you can get just enough right that you have a chance to do it again. And you learn every time. You learn from the mistakes you made the last time.
Part two of my interview with Worth Keeter continues now on Below the Line.
It's Below the Line with George Peroulas. On tonight's show,
Do you have a genre preference directing features or episodics?
There are good and bad to both of them. The features, because it's a one-time deal, you're starting up from scratch, you're often working with a lot of crew members you've never worked with. Everybody, there's a breaking in period, and you get all of that worked out, and then you shoot for, by the time you figured it out, the film's over. Whereas television is like a well-oiled machine because everyone has done their job over and over and over. The actors know the characters, everyone knows just how it goes. The drawback to television is you're sort of doing, on a series, you're doing the same thing again next week, and sometimes you're like, haven't we already done this script? Because certain similarities would come up. So there's a lot, creatively in a lot of ways films are better, but they're a lot more frustrating organizationally than a television series is.
Is there a difference in the business aspects of entertainment now than it was back when you started?
It's tremendously different. Well, for one thing, the independent producers have a very, very difficult time now because they don't have access to theaters anymore. The cost of distributing a film in theaters is astronomical, so for the most part, small films don't really get a shot there. There's not the money to distribute them, and because advertising is so expensive, there's no way to get the audience in there. And what used to be independent distributors are now owned by studios. So independent films, in a lot of instances, have come to be $20 and $30 million films with major stars in them. And the only difference between independent quote unquote films and to me, what we see a lot of the product is just, to me, it's comic book, superheroes and comic book characters and comedies, and I don't think we see the spectrum we used to see in the product that's out there. And the other thing that's really happened, the biggest thing I think that's made the change, is the way people entertain themselves has changed tremendously in the last 10 or 15 years, where you mentioned earlier videotape rental. That used to be a family would go and take maybe 2 or 3 videos and watch them in a night, take them back to the video store. Now it's people are on their computers. They're on the internet. They're on Facebook. They're playing games on the computers, and the attention span, I think, has gotten very short, and that's why we have, and now if you make something for YouTube, it better be under 7 minutes, or people are just not going to spend the time to watch it. So all of those things have changed everything on the whole global market. So it's very, very different than it used to be. It's become really, there's the big end of it, the big studio end of it, and after that it's just fragments.
Still ahead, find out what actors need to know about working on film sets that weekend workshops and acting classes don't teach. We're back in a moment.
This is ridiculous. I told you color portraits. To set up the new office, you sent black and white. We're putting up temporary ones now. You better hope he doesn't notice. Yeah, and you forgot the 24-karat gold frames. Hey, boss.
Hey, what's up?
So, any ideas about the new promo?
Yeah, I don't want to use any mediocre union actors. Their egos are just out of control.
How about little kids? They'll make you look taller.
No, the stage moms are too unbearable to deal with, even though they'll like me more.
Hot models. You won't have to feed them.
Ooh. No, I just want something simple. Something simple that says just to watch Below the Line with George Peroulas on the 4th Tuesday of every month at 8:30 p.m.
You could say you're an award winner.
Too much. You know I'm modest. Keep working on it.
Oh. Cheese balls.
Plastic? Hurry!
Over 1 million Americans at risk of foreclosure have been helped by making home affordable. Find out now what your options are.
Home where I belong.
You're watching the award-winning Below the Line with George Peroulas.
We're back with legendary director Worth Keeter. Now, Worth, what do actors need to know when they get on the set that weekend workshops and acting classes don't teach?
Most acting classes and teachers focus on different methods of teaching acting. I mean, I sometimes have a problem with these things because I think sometimes the teachers create different methods to stand apart so that they can keep their students where their students are. But what I have found is there's very little attention paid to what technically happens on a film set, the protocols, how to find your way around, the whole process. They teach almost none of that. And I used to, when I was in LA, I taught at the American Film Institute, and I also spoke at the American Institute, and I was approached about doing another class, and I said, look, I don't want to do anything about acting. I said, I want to do something about the technical aspects of it. And so we designed a little set, had cameras and everything, and had a script for the actors. And I said, it doesn't matter to me how you read the script. It's just it's about you being able to work with props seamlessly, how to find your mark, how to find your light. I mean, actors don't know how to find their lights, how to walk a banana, and all these terms that they deal with. And what I found out was some of the best actors had still prepared very heavily on the performance, and they absolutely fell apart when they got in front of the cameras. So I think I think both are needed, but I think there really should be more focus on the technical aspects, and especially the protocol of a film set, who you report to when you get there in the morning, the things that you don't do, what you say or don't say to the director, technical issues that you need to deal with. And I think there should be a lot more focus on that.
Yeah, I think you're right, because all of the acting classes that I've done and workshops that I've studied with for years and years, it's just, and many people out there as well who watch this, see that as well. And I don't think I've ever been to a technical acting class about learning all these things and all the terms that are used on a film set that, around here, when you're getting a day player part in a major film, you don't know these things.
Well, and the other thing is how to learning, and this takes years and years, how to be physically seamless in what you do as an actor. It's not just in what you're thinking or what you're saying. And I remember a story about Steve McQueen, that somebody said they would see him on the lot at 20th Century Fox getting in and out of a car like maybe 100 times. And what he was doing was trying to figure out what is the coolest way to physically do that action of getting in and out of a car. And Steve McQueen was famous for being able to steal scenes early in his career, even when he didn't have many lines, by doing something physical that drew the attention away from the other actor to him. And there's so much. When you watch good stage performances, you realize how much physical training there is in a stage performance, but that's not really taught film actors. But if you look at how stage actors convey so much with the physicality, even though it's too broad for film, the idea is learn that and tone it down. Don't go without it. But doing, it used to be mirror exercises, but now everyone has a video camera. There's no reason an actor shouldn't set up a video camera and work through things over and over and over again just to get the technique smooth.
What do you think about the casting process and finding the actors for your movies?
It's in a way a little stressful, because you're seeing, especially in LA, you see just stacks of photographs, and then you see a lot of actors. And one thing that a lot of actors don't realize, they take this on themselves when they don't get something. It's not because you weren't good. There's so many other considerations there. For instance, if I have, I had a movie, it was a detective movie that we're shooting in LA, but I had two actors that are very New York, known actors, playing two of the characters. No, actually I had three. My three male leads were all very New York types, so it was an LA movie. So I knew that even given two equally terrific actors, I've got to go with the guy for the fourth part that does not look New York. I don't want another dark-haired, New York type. So I went with somebody with a red-haired actor. And so it had nothing to do with the quality of performance in the audition. But the other thing about the audition process that it helps me define what it is I'm doing. Actors will come in and I don't direct very much at all in an audition. I want to see what it's meant to them, what that piece of script meant to them, and how they do it. And I don't really give a lot of notes on it. They'll say, "Is there something else you want?" And there really isn't, because I'm processing what they've done too. And on more than one occasion, the way an actor has done something in an audition helped me understand a way to go with that character in the film better. So it really is an interesting process in that sense of, you have your tent pole, you're usually there's a star or two that I don't have say about. They're already chosen for their value, but then the way you cast the others around them really has a lot to do with the way the show goes. There is a power play and I've seen it more recently. It's worse in commercials than it is in features and television, but my wife is an actor too, and you might remember there was a commercial a couple of years ago, and I forget what it was about, but people were wearing their underwear on the outside of their clothes. I forget what it was for, and they wanted the actors to come into the audition like that. And I said, no, you're not doing it. If they can't imagine that in their head, like a friend of mine that produces commercial just did one, and in the commercial somebody has a bag over their head. And I could sort of get it. She says, well, we need to see their personality with the bag over their head, but it's not really anything I agree with. I mean, I think there should be some respect. Respect should go both ways in the casting session.
Many actors that I speak with say that they're not really that good at auditioning. How much can you really get out of a page without knowing the backstory? But when they get on set, if they get a part, they can really nail a scene. Mm-hmm. Do you see that?
Yes, I see, and I have, it's very rare that you find an actor that says he's good at auditioning. I mean, I have seen, I'm talking about known actors that I had watched, when I was a kid in movies, come in and audition for me, and their hands are shaking so bad. It's a very nerve-wracking experience, because you go in, it's, you're sitting in front of, a couple of people, something I never do, but somebody might be eating their lunch or they're taking phone calls, and you just feel as an actor a little bit like run through a machine. And I don't like that process. I don't spend forever with actors, but I like to be courteous. I like to answer their questions. But if you can't bring it in that sense, in front of 3 people or 4 people or whatever, then you've got the opposite of when you walk on the set and there are cables and lights and ADs and people are screaming and moving ladders over you. So even though it's not an ideal process, I think it equals out pretty well in that sense.
Most everybody wants to get in the business and be the director. What is it really like getting that job in Hollywood?
It's very difficult, because you have to look at it like a pyramid. You've got, even on the Power Ranger shows, which were not, huge mega budget movies, but we had a crew of 60, 70 people, and there's one director. So just if you look at the numbers, it's a difficult thing. The other thing is you have to be approved by the networks, the studios, whoever you're working for, and these groups do a lot of shows, and it's a very sometimes treacherous atmosphere, and if you slip up, you haven't ruined yourself just for one producer, you've ruined yourself for that many different shows. So when you see, I used to look on IMDb, and I'd think of a director, and I go, wonder whatever happened to them or whatever, and you look and you see they had directed 3 films. And you'd go, well, that's, and then I'd start realizing that, you know, there are a small group of directors that have big numbers of credits. The majority have 1 or 2 or 3 credits. I mean, the rate that you get cut out of it is, and there's a turnover too. If you think about it, people don't think about it in terms of actors, but they replace stars with new stars every couple of years. I mean, okay, we had, how many years it was Sandra Bullock? Well, now we're going to keep making the same movies, so we can't keep making them with Sandra Bullock. So they just, Katherine Heigl, whoever. Same thing happens with directors. You reach a point where they go, it's not fresh anymore. You know, we're doing a new, I mean, one of the Saban shows that I did, and I had a great relationship with him, but it was the 3rd show I did with Saban for the same producer. We got along very well, and he said, well, we're starting this new show, but they want to try some new directors. They want to try something fresh. And, you know, it hurt my feelings a little bit. It made me feel better when they tried some other directors and they came back to me and said, we've decided that didn't work and we want to go back to the way we were doing it. But yeah, they do. It's like they try new composers, new actors. They keep changing it out to keep it fresh. So, you know, you reach a point where you've done it.
What makes a good director?
I think directors come at it from different walks. I mean, I came at it from sort of a piecemeal way. There are actors that were editors. Directors that were editors before. There are directors that were DPs before, directors that were writers before, and actors, of course. And I think they all give their special focus to it. I think that it's very important to be able to take the material and really analyze the material, really picture what it is you're trying to do with it, come up with the way you want it to come across, not piecemeal, not bit by bit, oh, it'd be great to do this in this scene and this in this scene, but to picture it as a whole, as a tool, and what is it you want that tool to do. I think the ability to work with actors, of course, because you have actors all learn the craft a little differently, and they're also at all sorts of different reality levels. I call it reality levels. Some are bigger, some are smaller. You have to homogenize all of them so they seem like they're in the same movie, but you have to do it in a way where you're not stepping on toes or hurting anyone's feelings. You have to, even though there's some directors that aren't really strong in this, I think you have to be strong technically. I mean, I have a background in editing. I've been a cameraman. I've done so many of the below the line jobs that it gives me a good understanding of what's going on with those. So I'm not lost there. I mean, on a set, I'm the guy that comes in and says, okay, I want the camera here and a dolly track there, and I want to use a 35mm lens, and because I've pictured it in my mind the way I'm going to cover the scene. So that's editing, and that's camera work as well. So I think it's just taking all the things that the tools that you have, and but the biggest thing is communicating. It's communicating with all the departments and getting everyone thinking the way that they should be thinking.
So you're back here in North Carolina. What do you have going on over here?
I came back. I have I'm at a studio facility here in Charlotte where I'm based now. I am putting together the first thing that I'm trying to put together are a series of lower budget genre films, horror, thriller, that sort of thing. I'm working with Jeff Pillars, and I have worked on a script we have called Kill Billy Farm. That's it's a sort of a fun, murderous hillbilly sort of a horror film. I'm also, spoken to Earl Owensby recently. We've stayed in touch, and Michael Plumides, who you know, we want to sort of revitalize that brand of the Earl Owensby Studios. We want to bring some productions into the studios there, and also theme some material that fits sort of almost a retro sort of material to go back to that, to go back to the type things that Earl was doing. And so we've spoken to Earl about it, and he's excited about doing that. And so we're looking at some projects right now that might work for that in that slot.
Well, great. Thank you so much for coming today, and continued success, and keep us posted on all your great projects.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
The winner for the Access Achievement Award for Best Promo is Below the Line with George Peroulas.
Thank you so much. I have all these ideas in my head, and you know, the only way you can get them done without people thinking you're crazy is to do on TV, and I guess it seems to be okay. I want to thank the other partner in this project, which is Steven Soper. He also co-produced and co-directed this project, and of course I want to thank all of the actors. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's a great idea. We'll both do it.
Todd, let's try it again.
Actors, director, you know what they do. What about the crew? Join me as I talk with these professionals who explain their job working on a movie or TV show. Watch Below the Line with George Peroulas on the 4th Tuesday every month at 8:30 p.m.
Cut. Back to one.
Pictures up.
What?
Action.
That's a great idea.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
You're watching the award-winning Below the Line with George Peroulas.
Thanks again to Worth Keeter, and thank you for watching. Feel free to contact us with your questions, comments, or show ideas. The email address is belowtheline21@gmail.com, and join our fan page on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
For more information, comments, or questions about the show, email us at belowtheline21@gmail.com.